So, Sahr, thank you so much for participating and coming on to our channel that we have on YouTube, that we amplify the work of powerhouses like yourself that are making changes in the community. And on behalf of Setsi, I just want to really thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. I'm very humbled. I'm very humbled to be here. Thank you for including me in this discussion and to be part of the work that y'all are doing.
So what we always do, we begin all things by acknowledging the original stewards of the various land that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we share, learn, and build together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So please do us the honors of introducing yourselves to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your remarkable work.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, my name is Sahr, rhymes with car. I've been fortunate to be kind of within the technology space for about a decade or so. I've been part of 9 different companies, 5 of them abysmal failures. 2 of them have been, reasonable successes, and 1.5 of them is still kind of chugging along and stuff. And as I was kind of being involved in the technology space, going about raising capital, building companies, hiring teams, trying to grow companies and sell companies, I started to kind of see a gap that existed, especially for underserved and underestimated, innovative and creative people, maybe like myself and like my peers who didn't necessarily have the same access to the knowledge, the connections, and the financial capital that they needed to be successful. So along the way, I started a passion project. It's called the Sea Tribe Festival. It has now kind of naturally evolved into being its own, reasonably sized organization. Our whole mandate and our whole goal at Sea Tribe is to find ways to firstly celebrate diversity, and secondly, find ways that we can help more underserved and underestimated innovative and creative people from various communities achieve their goals and their dreams. So we operate across a few different verticals or industries, if you want to think about it that way. We operate across the technology vertical, gaming, music, fashion, culture, and we'll be introducing a film vertical in 2024. And yeah, our whole thing is to find ways to bring people together from disparate backgrounds, people that might be the unseen and unheard gems of their respective communities and industries, and provide them a platform for them to shine.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. Reminds me of I don't know if you've ever heard of Rise in Tomorrow. In Toronto, is it tomorrow? Have you heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Exactly.
And could you just let us know what's your mission and vision? Can you articulate that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We think that we can create one of the biggest economic, social, and cultural drivers within underserved communities. And, what does that exactly mean, right? When we think about the work that we do from a social impact standpoint, a lot of it could sometimes be quantified or qualitatively identified as being almost charity work, or ways that we just want to, give some handouts and not really without expecting anything in return per se. But there's a really strong economic case when we can provide a platform to help more unseen and unheard people and talents, to be successful, right? They become contributing members to society. They find ways to build a foundation and a support system for themselves, their families, as well as their communities and stuff. So there's a really tremendous economic value that is provided just in that, and finding ways that we can provide that platform for them to be successful and stuff. So I think, just to answer your question and to maybe reiterate, our whole goal at Sea Tribe is to be the biggest economic, social, and cultural driver within underserved and underrepresented communities.
Wow. Well, I wish you much success for that. That's it's so needed, so wish you much success for that. And what inspires you about your current work?
I mean, what inspires me and what has been, I guess, my secret sauce to date with some of the things that I've been fortunate to take part of or accomplish per se, is the fact that I get to be around other very ambitious and highly driven folks, right? And have an opportunity where maybe myself or C Tribe or the different entities that I'm part of are able to create or just be a little bit of a help and a little bit of a helping hand to pulling them forward or bringing their vision or their products or their ideas or their talents to life and stuff. And to kind of create that platform, no matter how small, that kind of helps accelerate that even a little bit. It's the things that really just gets me up every single day and keeps me very inspired and stuff. And I think part of it is just alluding to the fact that I was once in that position where growing up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, there, at least at the time, weren't too many people that looked like us, walk like us, talk like us, and stuff. But now, as we're seeing like an emergence of folks that are settling in Edmonton, and an emergence of folks that are coming to the Alberta region and everything, once had myself in those folks' shoes, and I was looking for support, I was looking for help, and I was looking for ways that I can chase the goals and things that I really cared about. And to be able to be part of the answer for somebody else who is maybe just a few steps behind me, per se, I think is just a really meaningful, and it's the things that keeps me very inspired on a day-to-day basis.
That's amazing. I always say people like you are those pieces of puzzle that we join together to collaborate and make a difference, and in a difference in our, especially young people's life, because it's really about, the next generation. We should always be forward thinking and how we can make it a little bit more easier and a little bit more, conscious.
Exactly. And the pie can only grow, and we have to have that mentality of abundance, right? Where there is enough room and opportunity for everyone. And the more that we collaborate and work together and connect the dots and the pieces of the puzzle, as you so eloquently stated, the better that the bigger that the pie grows, and the more that there is for everyone and stuff, right? So yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment.
And so, how about any challenges? Have you gone through any challenges or barriers in your work, and how have you worked through them, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just naturally in the space that I'm in, and in the space that I've had a reasonable amount of experience in the technology sector in general, it really just comes down to being willing to take those small calculated risks and bets on different things and different opportunities, because obviously you can't do everything, you can't be everywhere at once, and you don't have a tremendous amount of resources at your disposal all the time and stuff. So the way that I kind of look at it is that there is always kind of challenges and, I guess, compromises that you have to make, right? What do you hire that next person on your team and have that impact your cash flow moving forward? And if you don't hire that person, then are you able to get the type of work done that you want to get done? Do you make that investment into that facility and give your team a space to work and be successful? Or do you not make that investment and keep that capital for future investments, but risk the challenge of that space being there for people to collaborate and to work together and stuff, right? So it just seems like every day we're taking these micro decisions where we have to provide some kind of trade-off and stuff. And so, there are always those challenges that come up on a day-to-day. And I think that's one of the things that just kind of keeps me excited about the job all the time, is that, you're never going to be 100% perfect. I think the batting or the baseball analogy is that you're never going to bat 1,000%. But if you can kind of make those small calculated decisions, address those challenges face on, and live with the results, then I think you just find ways to fail forward and move forward. I think just along my journey, I've been through the fundraising cycle, raising capital for different companies about 8 times. 3 of those times were miraculous failures. 2 of them were really successful and stuff, and they had led to some reasonable wins for companies that I've been fortunate to be a part of, whether that means, selling the company, or whether that means, being able to grow the company and hire, 10, 20, 30 people and stuff. But those wins would not have been possible without those learning lessons that I attributed from before, with the few failures that I experienced in the fundraising game. So yeah, it just feels like every day you're faced with these challenges, and it's up to you to make the decision that you want to tackle it head on and find a solution to it, or if you just want to kind of fold and not take it on, right? I think there's, like I said, there's no you're not always going to win in every situation, but there is always a tremendous opportunity to learn and to grow from every challenge that you're faced with.
That's it. And that's what it's about. They said it's not mistakes, it's lessons. So, we go through, it's just about the action. You go through things, you might stumble, but that sometimes you have to be thankful for the stumble, because that can personify into something so magical, so beautiful, that can help in what you're
Yes,
trying to do, when you find like, oh
exactly.
man, had this, but then man, it could have been like this. But guess what? My vision is now expanded to be like, I can get it there,
100%.
right? So it's all good.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So, do you have any set of key priorities in your work now?
Yeah, some key priorities that we have in our work. I guess our number one North Star for this year is that through our festival and conference, we're looking at ways that we can help and serve at least 1,000 underestimated and underrepresented individuals within different verticals and different spaces. And what does that exactly mean, right? So there's kind of three pillars that we look to deliver on when we're looking at serving underserved and underrepresented and underestimated communities. One of the pillars is helping deliver more knowledge capital. So, are we bringing together the individuals, the experts in respective spaces that can share nuggets of insights that will help these innovative and creative people in achieving their goals and their dreams and stuff, right? And that kind of materializes through keynotes and workshops and master classes and presentations that we host during our festival, all with the goal that the attendees and the onlookers that participate are able to leave with at least a few pieces of nuggets of insight that will help them be better and more efficient as they're chasing their goals and chasing their dreams. The second piece and the second pillar that we measure how well we help innovative and creative people is, do we deliver social capital? Right? You can have all the knowledge in the world and you can have all the insights in the world, but if you aren't connected to the people that can open those doors for you, then it all goes to more or less to loss and stuff, right? So, you have to be able to be connected to the individuals and to the people that can open those doors, provide opportunities, lend a helping hand, invest in your initiatives, provide feedback and support, all that sort of stuff. And so how that materializes during our festival and conferences, we try to curate spaces where people naturally come together and they're naturally finding ways to exchange connections and relationships and to be in tune with each other. And that could materialize through dinner parties and after socials and different initiatives like that. And the last piece that we look to serve underserved communities is by providing financial capital. So this is actually us putting our money where our mouth is and actually investing a portion of the overall revenue or capital that we earn at C Tribe and investing it into the innovative and creative people that are coming up behind us and stuff, right? So for looking at serving 1,000 people, if 1,000 of them can come to our festival and events this year and say that they at least took away 2 out of these 3 things of earning knowledge capital, earning social capital, or earning financial capital, then we consider that as a win. And those are some of our key priorities for this year.
Excellent. You hit all the exact points, to have overall success. Very good. Very good.
Yes.
And speaking of, okay, so let's get to this question. How do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada?
Yeah, I think it's a very loaded question, and it's a very good question. And I mean, the way that I look at it is that I think, especially as somebody that has been more or less operating in the space since about 2017, you can really feel a little bit of a tide turning, per se, where there are a magnitude more of opportunities that existed, especially for underestimated and underrepresented communities and stuff to to be successful. And that materializes through the work that's happening through the social impact sector. I truly believe. There's a few boards and organizations that I'm fortunate to be a part of, whether it's the Black Talents Initiative or whether it's I worked as a facilitator and a coach for the Black Business Venture Association for some time. There's a variety of initiatives that are just sprouting up and doing incredible work in the sector, of social impact, and it gives me a lot of hope. And as I kind of alluded to back in 2016, 2017, when C Tribe was formulating, when I was kind of in that position where I was looking for help, and because I didn't find the help, C Tribe was kind of the thing that manifested from it, and what we created to basically scratch our own itch, per se. Things weren't looking as pleasant, but I think now I have a lot of confidence in some of the decisions that are being made. I think government entities are investing the capital that's needed to help more social impact and social enterprise organizations be successful. And I think now, especially when you look at what's happening in the corporate sector, I think we're moving away slowly from being strictly just a profit driven entity or vehicles, right? Companies are thinking more about the impact that they can have on the environment, on climate, on supporting the communities around them, on supporting their employees and their staff and stuff. And I think that's really beautiful to see. Now, I think it's up to us to continue that momentum. And I think that's why, the work that organizations like yours are doing is just so important, because it keeps that conversation at the forefront, and it hopefully holds us accountable in a quantifiable and measurable way to say, okay, this is actually moving forward, or these are things that we have to do to pivot and change so that this sector continues to grow and thrive here in Canada.
That's it. Absolutely. They're saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's, as
Yep,
far as, having a social impact that's one of the ways, right? As
exactly.
collaboration, somebody I was doing
Yep.
an interview yesterday. She said, collaboration is the only solution for systems change,
Hmm.
and it's
I
so
love that.
true, so
Yep,
it's, that's what it's all about. So very good.
exactly. Yeah.
And what is the ultimate goal for you, and what does success look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't know if I have a great answer, because I find ways to just, at least now, operate in 6 to 12 months sprints, if you want to call it, and whatnot. But I think success, a longer term goal for me, looks like ways that I can bring the intellectual capital and things that I've been basically just blessed with earning, being and growing up in such a beautiful country like Canada, and bringing that knowledge and insights and things that I've learned back to places, like Sierra Leone, West Africa, where I was born and stuff, right? I think there is a lot of work to be done, on the continent, and I think there is a lot of insights and things that we can bring back as folks that have immigrated to Canada and whatnot. And I think it only makes sense to find ways to support those folks that, and the places and countries that we grew up in, and the places that we come from and stuff, right? I say it all the time to people that are close to me, is that I used to have a twin brother at birth. Unfortunately, he passed. But on my mother's side, she also had two. Her sister had two younger brothers, twins, in fact. And if you stood me and them side by side together, you probably would not be able to tell the difference and stuff, right? But for whatever reason, I was giving the liberty and ability and, the 1 in a million chance to come here and get my education here play basketball at a very top collegiate university and just earn so many things that, some folks that really look, talk, and walk like me, and come from the same family demographics and stuff, just did not have the same opportunities. So I think I have a little bit of a responsibility to pay it forward and to pay it back, especially in the country where I'm from and the country where I grew up in. So that's what I really look forward to, and that's how I hopefully hope to measure my personal success.
That's it. Wow, that's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story, and
Thank you.
he lives on in you, he's now your
Thank
battery
you.
pack. He's that,
Exactly.
right? He's that
Yeah.
for you to keep going and keep doing what you're doing and keep leaving a legacy.
100%. Yeah. I mean, a lot of folks will say that I'm very introvert and I keep to myself, and I think part of the reason is because I do have someone with me at all times, right?
That's it.
And I can be really quirky and weird all by myself, and I can just
Mhm.
be dancing in the kitchen or in the bathroom or talking to
Amazing.
myself in the shower, but I always feel that there's someone there with
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Me too.
me.
Okay, and guess what? We are down to the last question. So, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action at this time?
Any closing thoughts or thoughts to actions? Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to leave folks with one thing is, I think as it's kind of been talked about a little bit through this conversation, is that we're transitioning into hopefully a world of more abundance where, as human beings, we're actually becoming very, very good at being really good producers of things, right? When you think of what has happened in the agricultural revolution, right, where there was a time or period in history where we weren't sure whether we could actually feed all the constituents here in the world and stuff. But because of technology, because of collaboration and people coming together and going through the agricultural revolution, we've become so good at producing food that it's not a question anymore as to whether there's enough food in the world. It's just a question of how do we actually distribute it and make sure that there is an equitable share that is provided to folks who don't have the same kind of excess or accessibility that we do here in first world countries and stuff. So, and I think we can point to an abundance amount of examples where there has just been an excess of how much better we have been able to increase the standard of living for human beings in general. Now, how do we now put our heads together to spread the wealth, so to speak, to make sure that more folks are benefiting from the abundance that we are creating? And I think the last thing that I'll kind of say about this is that I work a lot in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm not myself a coder or programmer or heavily in the researching space, but I do build a lot of tools and I do build a lot of products and lead a lot of teams within these sectors and everything. And even when we think about the world of work or the future of work, we're now kind of moving into a place where machines and algorithms and robots are potentially capable of doing the work of us humans beings much better than we can. They have a much higher computational capacity. They can process things and information much faster. They can, look and create pattern matching within data much faster and more efficiently than we can as human beings. So now the question becomes, if we lived in a world where we didn't necessarily have to work per se and do the things that just pay the bills, quote unquote, and we could actually chase our goals and chase our dreams and chase the things that we are genuinely interested in without worrying about whether we could put food on the table or pay our bills and stuff. What would we do with our time? What would we do with our resources and the short, limited amount of time that we have here on earth and stuff? And I think it only kind of points down to how we can help evolve human consciousness and help evolve the worlds and pull people forward with us and stuff, because I really believe that we're headed towards a world where there will be an abundant amount of resources and labor and things that are available at our disposal. So how do we how do we utilize that to the advantage of everybody, right? So that's maybe one thing that I would like to leave people with is thinking a little bit from that optimistic lens, per se, especially as we transition into this really weird world in the next 5 to 10 years where no one really knows what's going to happen. But there is one thing for sure: as human beings, we will become very powerful beyond measure. Now it's up to us to hopefully deliver the characteristics and the skill sets that will help us hone that power and make it used for good around the world.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Some people fear AI, some people embrace it, so it's really about holding that balance of how to be able to use it to our abilities, but also not let it get out of hand. You know what I mean? So that,
100%.
yeah, take over as a lot of people fear. No, I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, I think that and to me, nature is forcing us to, elevate ourselves to a higher
Yeah.
consciousness, to a higher frequency of the planet. The planet
Yes.
is always giving, always producing, always, giving us
Yeah.
life, giving us food, everything. And we have to be able to maintain ourselves on that level. We don't have a choice at this point in time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It,
The rabbit is out of the box, or the cat is out of the hat. I
yeah,
don't know what the saying is, but
yeah,
there's no putting there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. We,
no,
as you so eloquently stated, nature is forcing us to kind of go down this path, and it's up to us to be responsible with all
that's
this uh, abundance that we're being provided. Absolutely.
That's it. Well, my brother, I thank you so much. This has been a very enlightening interview. I really wish you so much success. You're young, you're full of life. You have such powerful vision for not only yourself but your future generation, your future you. That's how I like to say, the future you coming after
Thank
you.
you.
And I wish you lots of success. And on behalf of Setsi, we really appreciate you taking the time for this doing this
Amazing.
interview.
Yeah, thank you, Mahat. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the platform that y'all are providing here for folks like us and others. And yeah, I look forward to finding ways and avenues that we can continue the conversation, continue to explore ways to collaborate, and yeah, at the very least, continuing to have the impact in the world that I think every individual is capable of. So thank you again.
That's it. You're so welcome. So we will close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I wish you have the greatest best of the week and ongoing. And
Thank you.
soon for sure.
Likewise. Thank you, Mahat.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care.
Okay, bye now.
Bye bye.